And there we are. We are officially live. Hey, how you doing? I'm doing quite well. Thank you for asking. Why do I like pancakes? How about yourself? How are you doing? There we are. Now let's see, what else do we possibly need? Pretty good, just got home from work. How's that so? Oh, nice. Hopefully we'll have a bit of an audience today. Once again, I'm streaming from YouTube today. YouTube and reality. I'm excited for the new The Boys episode tomorrow. Really? Actually, I don't watch The Boys, but I did hear that this was going to be the final season, the finale for the entire series. That must be quite exciting. There we are. From what I heard, The Boys is also quite the dark story. It's all about corruption, how corporate meddling can corrupt things that are supposed to be pure, like superheroes, if I remember correctly. Yeah, it's the second to last episode, too. Supposedly, quite a bit of characters will die. Oh, is that so? That is quite interesting. Ah, and it appears we already have a couple of viewers here on Twitch as well. Oh, sorry. Here on YouTube. And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. There we are. Anime Lover has joined the stream. Hello there, Anime Lover. How are you doing? Oh, what's this? Create a highlight video at stream marker. And share. I suppose I could share this as well. Let me copy that. And I'll share that on my Twitter. Share it upon the Twitter page, why not? I'll probably pin this as well. Let's see, where is it? There we go. Perfect. I'm doing well, but I had to get to the hospital and stay for 3 days. Oh dear. Why is that, Anime Lover? I hope everything was alright. Copy that. Paste it there. Throw in the new image. Supposedly it's my thumbnail, but I can't get it to figure out while I'm on YouTube. The stream's bitrate is higher than the recommended bitrate. We recommend you use a bitrate of 2500. Oh, is that so? Could using a lower bitrate actually help? Open widget. Oh, stream health. Okay. Oh wow, and the bitrate's actually really high. I'll have to do some research for that. Blood sugar was really high. Oh really? Blood sugar? Oh dear. Well, I certainly hope that nothing will come out of it from that. Hmm. And if I remember correctly, I think drinking plenty of water will definitely help with that. It's actually kind of interesting how drinking enough water will dramatically change your health. Because drinking enough water will help you with all sorts of things, from the blood to the liver to the cramps to dehydration, all sorts of things. I guess that goes to show that drinking water is the for sure way of making sure you're alive. That's why ghosts don't need to drink water. Not when it's 800. What's 800? Oh, so was your blood sugar 800? And is that because you're drinking water? Because I heard that staying hydrated and drinking plenty of water will help lower your blood sugar levels. Actually, if it's over 800, that is actually quite alarming. Actually, I hear that when it's over 600, it's already bad. My goodness. Well, I'm certainly glad that you're okay. That actually sounded quite, that's actually, what is it called? I think, what is that? Apparently I looked it up and it says diabetic ketoacidosis. Huh. But by the way, I doubt this will be a fun topic to dive into. The bottom line is, I'm just glad that you're okay, anime lover. In fact, how about you give an idea for what type of scary story we should read tonight? I'm trying to find a few good ones. Let's see. There's this one right here about a destroyed home that has apparently some evidence to a previous crime. What about this one? Something doesn't feel right about the house. That's interesting. Does anybody else have other suggestions for scary stories as well? Oh, I might as well close that. There we go. I don't seem to find Catalina on stream. I wonder if Catalina will even be there to watch the stream on YouTube. It appears that more people were watching it on Twitch than on YouTube. But either way, we'll just carry on with where the stream is right now. YouTube and Twitch is ideal, but for that I would need to try something new, something called Streamlabs to get that going. And from what I have also noticed, Streamlabs also cost a bit more money too. I don't think I'll have to go into Streamlabs entirely, but I do know that Streamlabs Ultra is what allows you to stream through multiple platforms at the same time. There we are. How much is it? You know, I bet you do good on TikTok. Well, I actually do pretty well on TikTok. I have quite a few followers, and I need to re-upload videos there again. But but do you mean I would stream on TikTok? Actually, Ultra Plus, 200 annually, 650 annually. Oh dear, what is that? Intelligent Stream Co-host, Intelligent Stream Automations. What is all this? And if I were to go... Oh, wait. Annually is a lie. Oh, wow, I didn't even know you had one. Yes. Yeah, it's in my description. Or, actually, it's not linked directly because you can't link directly, but if you look at my description, you'll find my username right there as well. Why do I like pancakes? I didn't even know you had one. Monthly would be $27 a month. Not too sure about that. It's quite a bit of money. And I haven't really been earning anything on these streams, so I think I need to have a bigger audience first, which means I gotta start making more videos on both Twitch, YouTube, and reality. I guess that means we better get to reading more stories then, shall we? So yes, should I press charges on the guy who assaulted me? What? Oh dear, anime lover, you've been through quite a bit. You've been through going to the hospital for quite concerningly high blood sugar, and then you got assaulted by a guy? Oh my goodness. Well, absolutely I agree. You need to press charges on the guy who assaulted you. Anybody who commits assault should absolutely hold up to their end of the bargain. If they think it's appropriate to be assaulting other people, then they should also be punished for doing so, because in this world, no one deserves that. And I am truly sorry that you've been through such an ordeal. So yes, I firmly agree. I stand by it. I think you should press charges. Unfortunately, I'm not the police, so I can't really do much myself. All I could do is read scary stories. Ain't that a crazy transition? Actually, what is, an interesting story about that? That actually reminds me of something. It was in my saved, I just followed on TikTok. Oh, why, thank you. Thank you so much for the follow. And hopefully I'll be able to upload some more videos there pretty soon. Let's see here. Alright. YouTube stream is still very good. Where is... there we go. Whoops. Nope. That's not what I wanted. I bet you would be a good cop. Really? Huh. Why is that? Is that simply by going by my voice? Or simply because of my authoritative language? Because I assure you, I would try my best if I was a cop, but I'm also, if anything, I would want to be a trainer of the police force. I want to be somebody who could help with, someone who could help with making sure that all of the police are up to code, making sure that every person gets the proper care that they need, and making sure that nobody gets hurt ever again. Oh dear, no, this story is far too long. But apparently there's this new subreddit called Tales from the Creeps. I wonder, is this a good one? What? There's a story about cannibalism? I don't know, ladies and gentlemen. Do you think we should read a story about cannibals? Oh, wait, actually. What's this? This is an interesting story. Apparently it's a psychological horror movie. A psychological horror about a couple. A couple that have been dating for about 3 years. And apparently, the girlfriend is being tricked out of something. This seems quite interesting. Third day of the daily badge. I bet you'd be a good cop, you. Why, thank you. So what do you think, anime lover? And what do you think, waffles? Or, sorry, pancakes. Anime lover, pancakes, that's it. It's only you guys today. Huh. I guess we have a very small audience. Not that I mind, of course. And, let's see. Yep, seemingly nobody on YouTube. Well, I guess you can't win them all now, can you? All we can do is read scary stories. And as long as one person is reading, I suppose. Oh, sorry. As long as one person is listening, I suppose that's all that really matters. Alright then. I'll try to be on both at the same time. Oh, anime lover, you don't have to do that. As long as you're there on one of them, that's all that matters. I'll still be reading. Hey, no matter how small the audience is, sometimes please don't let it discourage you from doing this, because I love turning into these themes. Why, thank you. And honestly, that is the reason why I keep doing it. Because in the end, no matter how small the audience gets, there's still always somebody there listening. And as long as somebody's listening to the stories, I'll be glad and happy to read them. So, would you like to dive into this psychological horror about a girlfriend who thinks that they've always been together, but when in fact the boyfriend may actually be somebody you may not expect? Or even worse, the boyfriend may actually be somebody you truly hoped would not be. Does that pique your interest, everybody? Oh, actually, I need to close that. Let me go to my export. No, I need to go to, my preferences. There we are. The audio hardware. Perfect. The Scarlet. Latency. Check. Alright. Let's test drive this. Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2. Perfect. Alright. And with that, the audio is working, so I think we are ready to begin the story. Okay then. So yes, I think we're good and we're safe to say that we could start with the girlfriend story. So, this is from a new subreddit. This is not from the No Sleep subreddit. In fact, it's from a new subreddit called Tales from the Creeps. Apparently, it's a place to post your top stories from the Creepcast podcast. So I don't think I'm going to be making this into a video, but I do think that these stories are pretty interesting. This is going to be a nice warm-up story, very short, about a lovely couple who have been together for 3 years. But little do they know that sometimes what you think you're in a relationship in doesn't necessarily add up to what happens in real life. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, my lovely little demons, this first story is called My Girlfriend Thinks We've Always Been Together. Written by Donovan221 and found in the No Sleep subreddit. And found in the Tales from the Creeps subreddit. Me and my girlfriend have been together for 3 years. At least that's what I'm inclined to believe. Lately, it's been kind of a struggle. I remember the day we met. Not to sound too corny or cliche, but honestly, it felt like love at first sight, like the moment I was meant to be. It was at a little get-together my family put on for my 21st birthday. I didn't question why she was there. All I could focus on was, well, her face. She was beautiful, and to think she wanted me of all people. That was damn near intoxicating. We danced the night away to a live cover band of the Beatles, and the entire night felt like a fantasy come to life. Nobody seemed to recognize her, though. All night it was just me and her staring into each other's eyes underneath the clear night sky. No interruptions whatsoever. When the party began to wind down and the people started to go home, we both agreed that she should stay the night with me. Together, we jetted back to my apartment while I tried to focus on the road and not the sweet nothings that she whispered into my ears. When we arrived, it wasn't some kind of straight to the bedroom situation. We actually cuddled on my couch for hours watching Supernatural, laughing at the cliches before dozing off in each other's arms. Unfortunately, the next morning I had to work, so when I woke up, I was fully prepared to ask her to let herself out and assure her that we would see each other again. However, the first thing I noticed as soon as my eyes opened was the fact that I was alone on the sofa. The second was the smell of breakfast that permeated my nostrils, that made my mouth water. I found her in my kitchen, hair messy, wearing my t-shirt as she made scrambled eggs. "Good morning, cutie," she smirked. "I hope you don't mind. I made you some breakfast. Consider it a thank you for letting me crash here last night." I groggily stared down at the serving of eggs and bacon. She was really making this hard. To pleasure, though, once she handed me the plate and planted a kiss on my cheek, she was pretty much already out the door. "Sorry, I don't want to be rude. I just have work," she announced hurriedly. "I'll see you tonight." Before I could respond, she was already gone, leaving me quickly to wash the dishes and rush out the door. Though we hadn't exchanged numbers yet, which, dumb, I know, at around lunchtime my phone began to blow up with texts. "Hey, how are you doing, honey? Working hard? What's for dinner tonight?" At this point, I was starting to get a little freaked out. Not knowing what to do, I blocked the number. So much for love at first sight. I was clearly wrong. However, when the new text messages start to appear from a new number, I knew that something was definitely wrong. "Haha, why did you block me? You silly goose. We're gonna be together forever. You can't get rid of me that easily." At this point, my heart was pounding. I responded firmly but politely. "Look, I really had a good time with you last night. I just don't think it's gonna work out. I wish you the best, and I hope you find the person for you." The texting bubbles popped up and stayed on the screen for a few minutes, and finally a response came through. "We can discuss this when you get home." Unfortunately, before I could reply to that insane remark, my boss walked by, and I had to put my phone away. The day went on, and by quitting time, I received hundreds of texts from this newfound lover. "I chose you. We were gonna be together forever. Don't you remember? I've always been here with you." Obviously psychotic, right? But what pushed it straight into horror movie territory wasn't the words, it was the images, the selfies. There was a photo of her in the back row at my high school graduation, a picture of me at the DMV while I was receiving my license, my 10th birthday. However, the image that will haunt me for the rest of my life was the selfie of her smiling underneath a face mask in the delivery room on the day of my birth. And her appearance hasn't changed once. She hasn't aged a day in 21 years. And as I stared in utter terror at what she had sent me, a new message appeared beneath the photos. We were meant to be. That was, "My girlfriend thinks we've always been together." Written by Donovan221 and found in the Tales from the Creeps subreddit. Well, what did you all think of that one? Also, hello to Dazzy. Hello, Dazzy. Thank you so much for joining. Do you like scary stories? And hello to Akio. Akio Tadashi. Thank you so much for joining, Akio, as always. Anime Lover says, true story animation you see on YouTube. True story animation. That was something to walk into, says Akio. Indeed, that was the first story of the night. That was our warm-up story. So you actually got here at a pretty, yeah, you've got here at a pretty good time. And if I remember or noticed correctly, you've got here right at the beginning. Oh, huzzah. Yeah, so you pretty much haven't even missed out on the first story. Now, let's see. That story is a bit too long. Let's see. I found another romantic story, but I think we'll lay back on the romance. Wait, what's this? It's a story about Buc-ee's. Isn't that a gas station? How is that a horror story? Well, apparently there are plenty of ways to have horror stories. Anything can become scary as long as you turn it into something dark and twisted. How's everybody else over here? Yep, that looks pretty good. Perfect. Let's see, what's this? Oh, interesting. I'm finding more and more relationship stories. What? What is this? Huh, interesting. So apparently there's this one story about a victim, a torture victim, who apparently cannot die. That one already looks pretty interesting. There's another one about a search history that belongs to a poor father trying to realize something about his daughter. That one looks quite interesting as well. We've reached 30 minutes streaming. Thank you very much, everybody, and thank you for the 530 likes. I greatly appreciate it. And what else? What else? Oh, what's this? I think that was a little bit too long. Think I'll close that one. Ah, something doesn't feel right about this house. Interesting. Okay, let's take a little bit of a palate cleanser and see this homeowner who had to visit their house after a long time. Apparently, um, for 3 days there was no sort of relief for this poor individual, as the walls and the textures make this man feel a little bit uneasy about their own living space. It's a bit of a quiet chat, so I suppose we'll just hop right into it, shall we? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, my lovely little demons, this next story is called Something Doesn't Feel Right Outside the House. Written by Fa Today 9069 and found in the No Sleep subreddit. I haven't left my house in a few years. I lost count of how many exactly, to be honest. After the first few months, it kind of stopped bothering me. As well, I didn't really feel the need to go outside. What's it good for? Here I'm fed, I'm comfortable, I'm entertained, and I'm safe. A combination of things that I would never have if I were to ever step out. I have felt kind of strange lately. I can feel some weirdness when I'm ever close to anything leading out or like the windows or doors. It's hard to describe. It's kind of like that feeling of being watched so intently that it's as if your clothes didn't even exist or your thoughts were written on your forehead. It's like that in a sense, but increasing the closer to where I'm even supposed to be looking out for. At first, I thought it was my anxieties just stepping up after not seeing the sun for so long. Maybe it was my mental state just messed up. But the problem is, I don't think even the sunlight's coming from the windows anymore. The tape, of course, doesn't help, but you could imagine at least some light would be coming in and piercing through, right? But then there comes the things that sound weird to you, Paul. But at the time, it made no difference for me. The topic of food. How do I get my groceries? That kind of stuff. Well, I don't know. I remember vividly, I ordered most of my food at the beginning, as well as having the money to always afford it. Somehow, at some point, my orders stopped going through, but food keeps showing up inside the house. You would think this is a real red flag, right? Well, this didn't bother me too much. In fact, I was excited. Who wouldn't be happy about getting free food? That thought process was so liberating, right until the feeling that I mentioned started. The food started showing up less often, and when it does, even touching it feels kind of dirty. The consistency is fine, but there's this prickling in the back of my head as if it was radioactive waste. I started to notice how different I look when the pain from the hunger started. I could feel my bare bones in every touch, sunken cheeks that are so sunken it probably looks like a blinking corpse. I barely have enough energy to do anything else most of the time. It's been 3 days since I last received any food, and hunger slapped me out of my stupor. I've tried to look up multiple times if there's something going on in my city or in the world, but there are no related news, almost as if everything outside is normal. But how does that make any sense? I feel the dread from every opening in my house increasing every single day. And maybe even I'm hallucinating from hunger as I could see shadows and curious looking figures from the corners of my eyes every single time I turn my head. So I decided to remove the tape and finally look outside my windows. But there is no window behind the tape. It was a wall. They were all walls behind the tape. I don't think there was any point in discussing this. I don't think I have the time to figure out any other solutions before the hunger makes me unable to even act on a plan. I know the door is not a wall, and I already felt its texture many times since this situation has begun. So I will open the door today, and I decided to write this in case hunger takes me away, or if the outside will take me first. If I survive, I'll get back to you all. Farewell. That was Something Doesn't Feel Right Outside the House. Written by Far Today 9069 and found in the No Sleep subreddit. Well, what did you all think of that one? That one was quite short, and honestly, felt a bit like a cliffhanger. I think it had a good build, but honestly, it didn't really feel like nothing was happening. It was all just a big intro. This is one of those stories where I think it definitely needs a part 2. If anything, it just feels like an incomplete story. It's well written, but it doesn't have an end. It only has the beginning. Doesn't even have a middle, to be honest. It does have a rich amount of detail for it, though. So for that, I'll give it a few props. But other than that, I think this was just a good warm-up story for the author as well, in terms of their writing. I see Plum Midnight Psycho has joined the stream. Hello there, Plum. Thank you so much for joining. It was interesting, replied Akio. Yes, I agree, it was interesting. But interesting doesn't mean scary. Now, I think we should probably go back to that, here we go, to that new subreddit. Actually, I found another one written by that same author, Donovan. Anime Lover gifted a royalty. Oh wow, thank you so much. I'm very thankful. Look at that crown. Very fancy. Well, is everyone ready for the next story then? This one's going to be about the torture victim. Could you imagine a torture victim that doesn't die? An immune victim that will always be subjected to pain and misery, but will somehow always have you busy. If you were a torturer, how would you react if your victim doesn't want to give in? Not because they are refusing to believe in the pain, but more in a way of they start to enjoy it. I guess I'll take that silence as a yes. Then let's begin the next story of the night, shall we? Ladies and gentlemen, my lovely little demons, this next story is called My Torture Victim Refuses to Die. Written by Donovan221 and found in the and found in the Odd Directions YouTube channel. Oops, pardon again. And found in the Odd Directions subreddit. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I think I'm gonna give up on this soon. It's been like 2 or 3 days now, and this guy's still breathing. He's laughing like a maniac, begging for more pain. He made it easy for me. He put up no fight, rode silently in the passenger seat, didn't ask a single question. Usually the people in his position would be begging for me to change their fate by changing my mind, and usually they all fail. But not this guy, though. He basically led the way to the shed in my backyard, almost like he was happy to be there. Happy to finally get this opportunity. As if to amplify the point, he pushed the door open and pulled the string to bathe the room in light. He dropped his jacket on the floor and turned to me. "Well," he taunted, "I'm waiting." He was kinda taking the fun out of things. He went as far as to strap himself down to the table, only until his left hand was restrained. A little help here, bud. I'm getting a little antsy." I firstly decided to slap him around a bit, bruise up his face, a couple of black eyes, that kind of thing. But all he did was laugh at my attempts, mocking at me while I beat the life out of him. "You're gonna have to try harder than that, bud. I read about you all over the papers. If this is all you got from me, then you're in for a real ticklefest, aren't you? You naughty boy, you." He laughed loudly, grinning at me from ear to ear. Well, this gave me an idea. I could almost hear the light bulb above my head flicker on. With a pair of pliers, I went digging right into his mouth, gripping each tooth one by one. I smiled right back at him subconsciously, trying to outdo his insanity. This task proved fruitless, however. When each tooth I yanked from his mouth, he smiled even harder. Blood started to run down his mouth and drip from his chin. And through all, he was fucking smiling? "I needed to grow new ones out anyway," he gummed out, breaking into a cackle. Frustrated, I tossed the pliers to the side. I sat my chair for a moment, thinking where to go next. As I sat in deep thought, the man spoke again. Only this time he was borrowing my voice. "Come on, champ. You still got it. I believe in you. Who cares that you're older now? This'll be the one, buddy. This'll be the one that makes them actually remember your name." At this point, I had a new mission. I didn't just want to kill this guy. I want to hear him scream. I tried inflicting the most physical pain acts upon him that I could think of, breaking his knees with the sharp part of a hammer, slicing his eye with a razor blade. Hell, I even tried putting paper cuts between each of his toes. It was pointless. All he did was mock me with my own voice. "Come on, son. You're surely better than this. Why are you moving so slow? Have you always been like this?" "Ha ha, I guess you're just past your prime." I knew he was right. I was past my prime. I've been in this business for nearly 20 years now, and my body didn't do the work the way it used to. I was getting winded down just cutting this guy's throat. In a gargled voice, he sounded like he was underwater. The man choked out. "Oh, so close. Unfortunately, this isn't horseshoes. You're gonna have to try a little harder, buddy." I continued to saw deeper and deeper into his neck until the teeth of the saw reached the cloth of the operating table. Triumphantly, I removed the head off of his shoulders, and I could only relish in the success for no more than a moment. However, before newfound silence was snatched away from the room. "Ah, look," a laugh from the voice in my hands. "I get to be a trophy." From that moment on, all I could do was sit there, listening to him shoot off increasingly absurd comments. "Ah, would you looky there? It seems as though I've lost weight. Hey, real quick, can you saw off my arm? I gotta scratch my nose."
Oh, just look. I sew my head back on, and we'll grab a beer after. Pretend this whole thing never happened.
And after 3 days of trying, I think I'm finally gonna give up and do whatever he says. That was My Torture Victim Refuses to Die. Written by Donovan221 and found in the Odd Directions subreddit. Well, what did you all think of that one? So that one was from Odd Directions, not Tales from the Creeps. I'm trying to find some new subreddits where I could get some good stories, and I do have to say that one was pretty good. It was, however, a little bit more on the comedic side, because the deaths weren't necessarily very high stakes. But nonetheless, I'm glad I read this with a New Yorker accent. I was originally planning on making this a bit of a mafia. I was picturing that this man was a torture man for the mafia or for some sort of gang-related operations. And in the end, I think that character fit well. It would be quite interesting um to have your job be ending lives and then meet somebody with a life that can never end no matter what you do. It's quite interesting. But I'm curious what you all think. I think everybody fell asleep. Nobody's commenting anymore. Well, then I think maybe we could read one fine. We can read one final story. Oh, Anime Lover said I loved it. Oh, why, thank you, Anime Lover. I'm glad you liked it. Definitely a nice little mix-up from the previous story, the one about, oh dear, what was it? I forgot. Oh dear. All right. I think after this, I'm going to call it a night. So one final story, and then that's it. Does that sound good to everybody? There we go. I got something new. Oh, plum. Let's see. All right, there we go. Okay, then. Then I guess we'll just, Well, then, should I read my story then? Yes, yes, I think I shall. Not posted yet. Ah, okay. Not to worry, not to worry. There we are. Go on, read it. There we go. All right. There was one final window. Where was it? There we are. Unfortunately, it seems like Catalina is not in the stream. So, streaming on Twitch, she gets audio issues. Streaming on YouTube, she doesn't seem to even appear. There's not a single viewer watching on YouTube. Well, it makes sense because I stopped uploading videos. So hopefully once I upload more videos, we'll be able to get more of a following on YouTube as well. But until then, I think we're going to continue on reality. So, with that being said, is everyone ready for the next story to begin? Oh, all right. Then without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, my lovely little demons, this next story is called... Oops, hold on. There we are. Ladies and gentlemen, my lovely little demons, this next story is called... Oh, hello there, Moonlight. Thank you so much for joining. There we go, that works. You've arrived just in time for the next horror story to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, my lovely little demons, this final story is called Every Destroyed House I Investigate Contains the Same Untouched Room. Written by I'm Funerals and found in the No Sleep subreddit. I've been a structural damage assessor for what's going on 10 years now. The job is exactly what it sounds like. A building gets destroyed, whether it's a fire, flood, gas explosion, structural collateral damage, whatever. Once the emergency crews are done and the scene is cleared, and everyone who's had feelings about the building is gone home, have those feelings somewhere else whenever I walk in. I walk the structure, document whatever's standing and whatever isn't. I file a report that tells the county, the contractor, and the insurance company whether the building can be salvaged or it would need to come down. I live alone, and I go in the buildings alone, and I come out of the buildings alone. I write the report, and then I move on to the next one. 10 years of that, dozens of destroyed buildings. It doesn't seem to get you the way people expect. It goes by the other way. After a while, a destroyed building just feels like a destroyed building. You stop seeing what it used to be, and you start seeing the load-bearing walls, the path of least resistance through something that's trying to fall. I'm telling all of this to you now because I need somebody else to know. This first house was in February. A gas leak took over the kitchen and took out most of the ground floor, left the upstairs looking like nothing happened, except for some smoke damage, and the ceiling was way too blown out. I've seen it 100 times. The explosion travels to a path of least resistance, and everything just above it sits there, intact, structurally sound, and completely exposed. I documented the ground floor, noted the compromised load-bearing wall on the north side, and I went upwards to check the structural integrity of the second floor. 3 bedrooms, 2 of them were what I expected. Smoke damage with cracked drywall where the ceiling had shifted, and the furniture thrown around from the blast pressure. The 3rd bedroom at the end of the hall was untouched. A bed made with dark green comforter pulled tight, a nightstand with a glass of water, and an ashtray. A pack of cigarettes next to a lighter. I noted in my report, structurally sound room, personal effects undisturbed, recommended contents evaluation before demolition, and I photographed it and moved on. I didn't think about it again, but not until the second house. This second house was in March, and it was an electrical fire on the east side of the county, an older neighborhood. The fire started in the walls, gutted structure from the inside before anyone smelled smoke, and by the time the trucks had arrived, there wasn't much left on the first floor of the east wing. The west wing was standing. I went through the west wing room by room, documented the smoke penetration, the heat damage to the ceiling, and the way the floor was soft in 3 spots where the subfloor has been compromised. At the end of the hall, there was a bedroom. I opened the door. I made a bed with the dark green comforter, pulled tight, a nightstand with a glass of water, and an ashtray, a pack of cigarettes next to a lighter.
I stood at the doorway for a moment. When I took out my phone, I looked at the photos from the February house. Same comforter, same ashtray, same arrangement on the nightstand. I did whatever any reasonable person would do, try to talk myself out of it. Maybe dark green comforters are common. The cheap lighters and ashtrays are common. A lot of smokers get their cigarettes on nightstands. Coincidence? Old house stock, similar taste in decor, nothing unusual. I wrote the report and then I moved on. The third house was in April. Flood damage from the burst, Maine. Downtown, one of the narrow 3-story buildings that used to be commercial on the ground floor, residential above. Ground floor was gutted. First and second floors had significant water damage. Warped floors, compromised drywall, and the mold was starting to settle in the corners. A third look at the end of the hall. I opened the door, felt something tighten in my chest. The same goddamn room. But the bed wasn't made as tightly this time. This time the comforter was pulled up, but there was a slight depression in the pillow, like someone has been lying there, and got up and made the bed really quick, not quite smoothing everything out. The ashtray had a cigarette on it, half smoked, and the ash was still intact, like it had been there and left there. I took photographs for a long time, measured the room, checked the wallpaper pattern against my phones from the previous 2 houses, and the same faded patch near the windows, the same place where the paper had lifted slightly from the seam of the door. I went home and Googled the wallpaper pattern. It was apparently discontinued in 1987. The manufacturer doesn't seem to exist anymore. I filed my report, decided not to mention the room, and I did not sleep well at night. The 4th house was in May. I almost didn't go in. I sat in my truck in front of the building for 15 minutes before I could make myself open the door. Fire damage, residential. Outside of the country, single family home. I went through the motions of the lower floors, documented everything that took my photos, wrote my notes in the shorthand. Upstairs at the end of the hall, I opened the door. Of course, the same fucking everything. Except the mattress. I know my own mattress. I bought it 4 years ago, after my back started giving me trouble from a pinched nerve. It was my mattress. I tried to think about all the reasonable explanations, but I couldn't think of one. I took a picture or photo of the mattress tag. I went home and checked on my own mattress tag, and it was the same model, same manufacture date. I poured myself a drink and sat at my kitchen table for a long time. I then told myself there are probably thousands of those mattresses in the country, and I just went to bed. The 5th house was last week. Before I knew it, I opened the door, and at the end of the hall, I'd known since the 4th house that this house is where I was going. I was going to open the door anyway. Some part of me needed to see it. The room was mine. Completely. It had the landscape print that I've had ever since my mom died, and I've kept it because she gave it to me, not because I really liked it. Then the specific bleach stain on the fitted sheet from the summer, and when I spilled cleaning solution and I didn't notice until laundry day. All of it in a destroyed building on the east side of Joseki, in a room that smelled like clover. The bed was occupied. I couldn't see a face. The figure was on its side, turned away, the comforter pulled up. But I could see it was my build. My hair on the pillow, the way I sleep when I'm exhausted, one-armed, tucked underneath. It stood in the doorway for a long time. But then I closed the door very quietly, walked back down the hall and out of the building, and I got in my truck and I drove home. I'm writing this from my kitchen table. It's 11 at night. I came home tonight, walked upstairs, stood in my bedroom doorway, and I looked at my room for a very long time. The bed was made. I never make my bed. The nightstand is clear. No charging table, no glass of water, no clutter. The beach stained sheet is gone. The landscape print that my mom gave me is gone. The mattress is made up with sheets that I don't recognize, tucked tight at the corners. My bedroom looks like a room that nobody lives in. Looks like the room I found the first time. Untouched, like someone just stepped out. I don't know where I've been sleeping. I don't know how long I've been gone. I'm going to call my friend Dave tomorrow. We were supposed to get beers on Saturday anyways. I think I just need someone to tell me that I seem like myself. Well, that was Every House Destroyed I Investigate contains the same untouched room. Written by I'm Funerals and found in the No Sleep subreddit. Moonflower said, that was crazy. And Draconia gave it a nice round of applause. Thank you very much, Draconia. I am unfortunate, going to have to call it a night rather early. Oh dear, I'm already starting to doze off. I'm glad that you liked it, Moonlight, and you as well, Draconia. What a lovely story. Why, thank you, anime lover. With that being said, though, I think I'm ready to call it a night. I know Plum said that they have something new, but honestly, I think we should save it for tomorrow. And hopefully tomorrow, I'll be able to stream even more. Alright, farewell and good night. Indeed, Sarah Draconia. Sorry, Plum, we'll just save it for the next one. Remember, everybody, be lovely to each other, and be lovely to yourself, because you deserve love too. This is the Liminalist saying farewell, and until next time. Bye.